have a discussion. We can look at different parameters, which we did not do last time. So I think last time when we met in the track 1 meeting, we had discussed about how is it important to really approach the disease differently, right? So anemia, for example, is not a disease, it's a deficiency. It needs to be treated differently. Diabetes is a disease, hypertension is a condition. So they all need to be treated differently. And we had mentioned the importance of disease management as an approach to really tackle that. We've spent time on that, so I'll not really go back and detail that again. Effectively, what we are then now saying is that let us focus on the second aspect of our discussion, which is linked to supply of medications. So I'll brief the team on what is the approach that we've taken one by one, and we can have questions at the end. See, like I mentioned, I think the issue on, we have talked about Jan Aushadhi and all these are examples. Jan Aushadhi is a good scheme, but it's a good scheme for acute conditions. It's a good scheme where the poor patient needs to go and buy medicines for either his infection or his respiratory condition or something which is basic. But what we need in an NCD, either anemia or diabetes or hypertension, is long-term treatment. And therefore, we had again detailed it last time, there is huge importance of consistency of everything. Consistency of treatment, consistency of medication, consistency of kind of medication, consistency of quality of medication, consistency of organoleptics of the medicine that we are taking. Which means if you're taking a particular shape, particular color tablet every day morning, you should continue taking that only. And that's what leads to compliance. The whole idea here was that there is huge gap. You know, the data that we had seen last time was only 25% of patients today have access to medicines. So if I go to the rural setting in a primary healthcare center, only 25, so 1 out of 100 patients, only 25 patients are taking medicine. And the second problem that we had seen was that among the patients who are taking medicine, only 51% are taking it the right way and taking it for the right duration. So basically, what we're saying is out of 100 patients, not more than 12 patients take the medicine in the right format consistently. The converse therefore is that around 80 patients are definitely not going to get treated. That's a troublesome statistic that we're looking at. So therefore what we're doing is that with this as the background, with our clear approach as a team with DIISHA, we are looking at recasting the whole approach to healthcare or to medicines within the system. The idea is that a lot of discussion happens around supply of medicines, right? And you will hear a lot of people commenting saying supply nahi hota hai, PHC mein supply nahi hota hai, maal nahi pahunchta hai, and therefore shortage hai. We technically disagree. The issue is not about supply, the issue is about demand, right? The issue is not about supply chain, the issue is about demand chain. The issue is that there is no demand being placed by anybody in the system for a particular kind of medicine or a type of medicine in that PHC, and therefore there is consistent gap. अगर मैं डिमांड ही नहीं करूंगा, अगर हम यहाँ पे आए हैं आज, अगर हमने होटल को बताया नहीं कि हम 50 लोग खाना खाने आ रहे हैं, तो you can't blame them saying कि आपने खाना बनाया नहीं, right? The food was ready outside because there was a plan given with number of people who are supposed to come for the afternoon meal. I think there is a huge gap in the entire ecosystem on demand chain. The demand chain is weak. It's actually not a chain. It's a sporadic event. And therefore what we see is there are huge and consistent gaps. What we therefore feel is that it is important to tackle the demand chain well if we have to manage the supply chain. Our entire system therefore that we have worked out is working out patient backwards. Which means that if I have a certain patient named A who's in a particular PHC currently taking medication or is diagnosed with a particular disease, say diabetes, that patient will get flagged as a unique number and his medication, which is going to be long-term, is going to be made consistently available to him. The promise that we have here is that every month with the local PHC will hand over a month's therapy to the patient, right? And for example, if there was patient A who got his medication on the first of the month, we are further promising that his subsequent month's medicines will be available 10 days before the end of the current cycle. Which means that by the 20th of this current month, the medicines again would be available back for him. So how are we doing this? I think what we're doing here is that the benefit here is technology, and the benefit here is all of us who are collecting data at every step, starting from Scienzy to Elsevier to everybody one by one. And therefore that empowers people like us or partners like us to ensure that you can actually flag the patient as an individual and check on him continuously to ensure that medicines are reached on time. Every possible instance on a daily basis can be captured as a data point, and on the basis of which there is a back calculation which happens, and that's how the replenishment model, as we are calling it, works. So whatever number of patients get diagnosed per PHC, if for example there is a PHC 1 where there are 100 patients of diabetes, these 100 patients with their unique IDs will be defined, and they will get the kind of medicine that is prescribed to them by their doctor on practically real-time basis without a day's gap. The second point to look at is, what are these medicines that we are talking about? I think the medicines are defined by guidelines. In India, there are ICMR has fixed guidelines for different types of diseases, and within those diseases there are grades. So for example, if you look at diabetes, there is grade A diabetes, grade B diabetes, grade C diabetes, and for all these grades there are different levels of medication. So you can start with a basic medication A, which in this case is metformin. But then if your diabetes is higher, it is uncontrolled, you will be classified as grade B, and there would be a second drug added to the metformin, which normally is glimepiride. If you are still uncontrolled, you will go to grade level C, where you'll have a third drug getting added to it. And then for completely uncontrolled diabetes patients, there is also a grade 4, which we're not supplying. But grade A, B, and C, 1, 2, and 3 is what we will definitely supply. The fourth grade involves the use of insulin, right? And while we have the capability of supplying insulin also to the DIISHA program, we are not doing that today. We have not planned for it today, because the capability of storing and dispensing insulin is hugely complicated. Therefore, you will not be able to deliver or have consistent quality at the end use, and therefore we are not talking about that currently. If tomorrow we have infrastructure across every PHC which can take care of a cold chain product and maintain the quality of the cold chain product, even that supply is available with us. So across the three diseases, which is diabetes, hypertension, and anemia, we have defined products based on ICMR guidelines, classified them. We have checked for their validity. They all have been CDSCO approved long ago. And without getting into a hugely complex mechanism, we are going to be planning to supply this medicines at a planned consistency to the patients. This is the first part of it. So this effectively ensures that the medicine has been procured. We will have our supply chain machinery in place. We will have mother warehouse in Maharashtra. We will have state warehouses where there will be another level of stocking. And these state warehouses will supply to the PHC as the third level. The estimation here is that the PHC, like I said, will deliver the medicines to the patients. So this takes care of the first part of the entire journey of disease management. Once the medicine reaches the patient, the second part of the journey takes over. The second part of the journey is the nudges and pushes that we need to give the patient to ensure that he or she takes the medicine at the right format, at the right time every day. So we are planning certain tools or certain reach points for those patients with the expectation they will start using it. So what are these? For example, there has to be an alarm. I mean, if the patient has a phone, then we will have an app on the phone, or we will have a machinery on the phone which can give notifications to push the patient every day at 9 o'clock to be able to take his pill. Does one alarm suffice? No. We intend having 2 alarms. One which says, please take the medicine, and after 10 minutes saying, have you taken the medicine? Okay, where he has to just say, yes, I have.
Leave me alone.
Yeah, leave me alone. So I think the whole idea is that, see, in our field, pardon me for the word, but it is important to be idiot-proof. So that's how we think, and that's how the whole plan is being thought about. And we are open to looking at options further to create these nudges and pushes by which the patient complies to the entire treatment. The idea here is that if the right quality medicine at the right time, in the right format, if it reaches the patient and there's adequate push to ensure that he takes that medicine, there will be a quantum difference in the outcomes that we are seeing with these diseases. Okay, it should actually create longitudinal data which is far more favorable than what we see today. Today, these heat maps here, or these maps here, like Sinhaji mentioned, they are statistics, right? We can see a huge amount of diabetes spread across north and east, going down to south of India. Hypertension is on the other side. They're coming up South India upwards. But tomorrow, if we are giving the right kind of treatment in the right format that we are discussing, the expectation is that these scary numbers will possibly come down and will be a far more Swastha Bharat as compared to what we are today, or what we are heading for as we speak today. We've also mentioned some kind of specialized packaging, which is, see, for example, if there is patient A, elementary stuff, right? You don't need to get very complicated. Or there's patient A, you need to have packs which can be, where on the pack you can write his name, write his next visit date and all that stuff. Can be as customized as we can to that patient. So we're talking about, if we have strip packs, then they would go in a certain format as monthly therapies. We have also in India, see, the world over, for chronic disorders like diabetes and hypertension, the Western world, as they call it, developed world, uses bottles. They don't use strips, right? For some reason in India, it has not been accepted, because in India they say people prefer a point of purchase. हमको हर 10 दिन बाद एक स्ट्रिप लेके आने में मजा नहीं आता है थोड़ा. You don't have so much money to buy a month's therapy. You are going and buying 5 days or 4 days or 8 days or 10 days. That's the reality of life today. So I think we have to adapt to it. But since we are going to give this to the patient free, okay, we can think about using packs which are compliance packs. Right? उसको तभी 5 tablet देने की ज़रूरत है नहीं, ना 10 tablet देने की ज़रूरत है. We can actually give him a 30 tablet pack. So all of that working in the back end has been done, and therefore this one, it's not very nicely visible, but this is a pack of glimepiride and metformin, DIBI, month's therapy. So I think all these workings are already, we've done this over the last 8 to 9 months, and we think we are relatively ready to be able to head to the market when we are.
Sir, other than 3 questions which you have in a technical review assessment committee, it's going in writing, you have already submitted. I have 2 questions from my side. Is when you are seeing and saying that there is a cost saving of resources, is it possible for us to do some assessment? Because just before these slides you are saying that if we are entering into an diagnosis because of early, then grade 1 is different, grade 2 is different, grade 3. Is there a cost attached to each grade? Or if someone who is early diagnosed will be able to be cured fast, is it some saving?
There will be a higher burden of medication if you detect any disease late. But is there a quantifiable model that one can put up or throw up? We will evaluate that, sir. But currently, hai nahi.
Okay. So as of now, it does not exist.
No.
But if it comes in practice, it will be very important for state population health management policies. Second is, you said there is a certain amount of awareness we need to put into the user of medicine.
Yes.
What is this awareness? It is a content related awareness. It is a time trigger of alarm. And what type of platform you see for this?
Absolutely. So I think, so what happens is that there are 2-3 problems in the rural setting or in different settings in different parts of the country. अगर आप different NCDs की बात करेंगे तो asthma is one example. I'm just going slightly beyond diabetes and hypertension. But asthma is a condition. Dama hai, ye stigma hai. Right? Therefore, people hide it, or people don't want to really talk about it or present it to anybody. Similarly, hypertension है अगर आपको, तो आप उसके बारे में either you're overconfident or you don't want to talk about it. So I think when I'm saying awareness, it is awareness which should happen at the patient's level directly to encourage him to talk, to be able to define, and to be able to take the medication which have been given to him. If we are saying 7% of the Indian population has hypertension, and there are some people who are still worried about not talking about it, there is an issue. Right? So I think there can be awareness mechanisms which can be created, which could be either local level or it could be at the central level. Some opinion leaders can give that impression. जैसे जब अमिताभ बच्चन साहब ने कहा कि पोलियो की 2 दवाई 2 ड्रॉप ले लो तो सब मान गए. Right? So I mean, Amitabh Bachchan is not an expert, but because he is a celebrity, his endorsement becomes huge. So we can't go to Amitabh Bachchan for DIISHA, but I think we'll have to figure out mechanisms which could also be localized, so where such awareness can be created.
Last question from my side, then other people who have questions from pharmacy or the drug preparedness can ask him. Sir, certain amount of heat map recognized in some area. Certain amount of prescriptions are also will be now visible in DIISHA. That what prescription or how what diagnosis has happened. But if consumption is not matching to that, it is that degree of micro detail that we will be able to see what was prescribed to a certain number of volume of people in terms of statistics and what is the consumption. Consumption is matching with that possibility. Maybe we cannot enter into case to case, but if that heat map is indicating that there is a awareness campaign required, there is a door-to-door campaign required, so you never know how these diseases are spreading, how dense is the heat map. So can we rely on the consumption side, on your statistic, that it will be able to bring the entire line into streamlined structure?
Okay, so this is an excellent question, and I think it's not something that a lot of us have thought about or worked on. The moment there is a gap, अगर हम कह रहे हैं कि P4 या P5 में there were 80 patients diagnosed or 100 patients diagnosed, but medicine अगर खाली 60 ले रहे हैं, so there is a delta. Okay, how does one tackle that delta is something that we will have to work out as a part of the program separately. So because that is an on-ground requirement. So should we be able to directly connect with the ASHA workers? Is there a push and a nudge that we can do at the ASHA workers? All of that is part of the phase 2 of the program that we are trying to work on. But if you think, no, that is something that we need to work on priority because we think that that could be a gap, we can do that.
I think just...
Sorry, give me a second. Yeah. The benefit here is that we have a beautiful network created. We have a network of patients. On top of that, there's a network of ASHA workers sitting. On top of that, there is a network of the PHCs sitting. So there can be awareness, education, programs. If I see that there is a particular PHC where the delta is more, we can create, like we today heard from Google, there are mechanisms to create awareness or training or driven sessions in that particular PHC. So we are equipped to do that. We'll have to plan it.
The patient himself कि मुझको ये दवाई रोज खानी है और खत्म हो गई हो तो फिर से लानी नीचे हो गया and it depends on the economic education status.
What we thought of doing, at least in the case of our transdermal lotion, was that we give a bottle, and when the person comes back for the return for the new bottle, he has to return the old bottle back. So it's not that the old bottle is going to give me any money, but that would at least ensure he has utilized the bottle completely.
No, but if he doesn't, just trying to answer the question, what's the delta? How do you bridge the delta?
No, but the same thing, right? So I think the same solution will also solve the problem, which I was just discussing.
No, we can.
For this, but in case of medicines where we are giving him bigger bottles, it can be misused, right? He'll probably go and sell half the medicines and come back with an empty bottle.
नहीं lose नहीं बेच सकते.
Correct. No, I'm just saying there's a misuse. No. For example, tube is still being used, right? Bottle तो खाली करके वो नया या अलग bottle में निकाल देगा. He'll come back and buy a new bottle.
No. So
free medicine.
Let me answer that. See, what happens is, like I said, if 1st of June, if the patient has taken medicines and that is a 1-month therapy, he only becomes eligible for the next therapy on 1st of July. Right? He can't come in between and say कि खत्म हो गया दे दो. It is dangerous because he's consuming double the quantity, which is itself a concern. So you can't do that.
But right now it's not trackable, na sir. Currently,
Right now it's
if
not.
you don't know the profile of the patient, identifiable patient, then वो तो दूसरा खरीद लेगा दूसरी दुकान से जाके.
खरीदने की बात नहीं होती आप हमारे प्रोग्राम में we are talking about it futuristically. Free
Even
medicine.
if it is not free, even certain amount government want them to pay because Jan Aushadhi is not 100% free. It's subsidized medicine.
Yes.
Then also he has to show some sort of ID. Then only he'll get the next bottle.
Absolutely.
Right? Understood.
So my suggestion would be about the content awareness because I belong to the rural background and I still feel the mileage, the ultimate mileage of this program will be achievable if we're able to hit the right chord with the village people. Because as you mentioned that Amitabh ji has come for the polio drop, do boon zindagi ke hai, and almost most of the people, say 95% people have taken the polio drop.
Yeah.
This happens in the COVID also. We have seen a lot of confusion, a lot of myth was there about the COVID vaccine. Some scientific communication has gone to the field. Now people have come forward and I think more than 200 crore doses has been administered to all the people. So very important point is that how we are going to communicate because the end user is always the rural people who are has a less knowledge about the medicine, less knowledge about the scientific word. How we are going to promote and motivate him to come in the regular track of medication analysis. It's very important to note that and we can include this in this mission program that I think it will make more opportunity or more chances of getting more success.
Absolutely. So, agree, sir. I think, like we said, there are the standard 2-3 mechanisms that get used is to get his local influencer to talk to him. So, if the local influencer is the ASHA worker or local influencers, कहीं जगह पे पंचायत भी होता है, but I'm not going to that level. But local influencing mechanism को अगर आप trigger कर देते हो, तो वहाँ पे normally benefit करता है. We'll have to start thinking about mechanisms to do that. Like I said, ASHA worker we are in touch with. And therefore, if we find a particular PHC or 3 PHCs जहाँ पे compliance level low है, तो we will have to trigger a program, which means that you will have to work towards more awareness to ensure better compliance. So, वो programs we will work on, and they can be done digitally also. They can be done through mediums, which are either Google platforms or something else.
You can look at some local celebrity. I'm just trying to come, for example, Bhojpuri or somebody, some actor
Yeah.
who's very well known in that particular area. थोड़ा सा अगर वो दिशा के बारे में बात करे, थोड़ा दवाइयों के बारे में बात करे, थोड़ा so kind of he's the one who's promoting the ASHA and everybody. I think that kind of a thing can also be localized and done by all of us.
See, I think once we are on the road,
It's a multi-pronged approach which needs to get taken up.
So right now
So
it's
that
not
can be-
needed to discuss, it's not needed to strategize right now, but what I wanted to put our value clearly, that whether we will be able to put that gap in the knowledge of the stakeholder or not. If gap is there, then only campaign will be designed, right?
yes, sir.
So, all the valid points, I think there are two aspects to it. One is our ability as a program to track whether the fulfillment has happened, PSCs are disbursing. And second part is after the disbursement or the last mile delivery has happened, whether the patient has consumed it. So, first part to some extent is trackable right now. So, because Sarthi is the platform which is holding the data end to end, the way it has been designed in consultation with Satyaji and Preetish is that, once the threshold of the available medication in a particular PSC goes below certain limit, there is an alert that gets generated. It goes to MKPPL or it goes to Koye, and then they fulfill it. When they fulfill it, the PSC, the owner of the PSC, we have captured the data of PSC and the corresponding numbers. Okay. That person has to enter the OTP and certify that I have received this shipment. That's the first part of the receipt. Second receipt is that the disbursement has to happen. Now the patient's information is available with PHCs, and patient or the ASHA worker, he or she has to visit the PSC, take the medication. When the medication is picked up from the PSC, again an OTP level authentication is triggered because patient has been authenticated through Aadhaar, means patient is supposed to have cell phone number. So OTP goes on the patient's number, that OTP is entered either by ASHA or patient, and the disbursement of the medicine happens to the person. So that way, the entire tracking mechanism to certain degree is tracked. Now coming to the
that
second
is-
part, whether the patient has taken
That
it or
is
not.
what question has came to him from the technical review assessment committee, that once the drug is identified, that this need to be indented and the process starts. Indented somewhere, it will go till consumption.
Correct.
So from indent to consumption, what is the track pathway, how it is being tracked, that whether it is lying in the PHC, somebody sold it into grey market, or what has happened to that drug, if it is consumed by whom?
Correct.
Whether if it is consumed by X person, then who prescribed, on what report it is prescribed. So everything attached to it has to have a pathway.
Correct.
That's the pathway which has been asked into tech. I think you have given an writing answer. There might be follow-up question.
Yeah,
We'll
sure.
get note to you. You will also get your track questions, once election is over. METI is going to come back in the form of with the name Elsevier will also, we all are going to get our technical review assessment questions in, I think, 2 weeks from now.
Okay.
These all are going to go back to them in writing. We have to satisfy them giving the flow chart, that this is what and how it is happening. Once it is stamped, confirmed, the same is going to be nurtured in terms of commercial equivalence or commercial translation, how much money we are going to spend on it. So my last question from you, sir, is at this stage of time when we are doing the map making or the geospatial map, your infrastructure to infrastructure, logistically you are also going to give us an insight that which location it is getting picked up, where is the manufacturing unit, where is the PHC, where is the stock holding. You are involved into that, or there is an other stakeholder to whom?
No, complete visibility available.
Okay.
We are involved into that. So like I said, our trigger is liquidation of stocks at a particular PHC.
For both, for samples of the testing also, or for the medicine also?
We're
Or
talking
only
about medicines,
Okay.
right? So we are completely in sync on the entire process of medicine supply. We will be constantly tracking individual PHCs and their stocks that they are holding.
Okay.
And therefore we have a back-end replenishment mechanism saying, अगर माल इतना खत्म हो गया है तो उसको trigger करना है, and the goods will be made available. The supply chain that we have ready, or we are keeping it ready, is we will have manufacturing sites which could be at different places in the country. They will all supply to our central warehouse in Nagpur. That central warehouse place is kept specifically for DIISHA, and that will be segregated. From that central warehouse, we will have state warehouses in these 9 states. A place like UP may actually require 2 warehouses, but we are currently talking about 1. The state warehouses will have ready stocks from where the goods will be supplied to the individual defined and tagged PHCs.
Okay.
So this entire process will be time bound, and therefore since there is supply or there are stocks kept at every level, we are effectively taking care of all kinds of shortages.
Sorry, I'm asking too many questions.
Yeah, please
But
go ahead, sir.
Is there an impact assessment possibility that the medicine which has gone to this particular area or this particular place, counter to what the statistics we are getting from the disease infected or identified or tested, some of them are getting cured, not cured. That is what you will be able to do on the impact side?
So impact we can define for the process that we are driving. I don't know how good or bad the comparators could be of the data that is available today, right? Because we know that data is compromised. I mean, there are a lot of issues there. So I don't know, you're not comparing apples to apples. But the moment we take charge, or the DIISHA program rolls from all of us, we are very clear that we should be able to define the different control parameters for individual diseases. For example, diabetes. If you're saying 100 patients in a PHC have diabetes, we'll be effectively able to prove that how many of them have controlled diabetes now.
Just into anemia, going from anemia, one district came up with a critically severe heat map of anemia, and your supply is going there.
Yes.
Your system will be able to tell us that where this medicine is going, and if it is not curing people in next 45 days.
Absolutely. So we know where it is going. We know which patients have taken the medicine. We'll have to...
You know from which angle I'm asking, right?
Yeah.
The drug discovery and the companies, we have a 20% earning from that. If they are going to ask us that, okay, I'm giving you a medicine which is approved by CDSCO for human trial, And now you go and please give me a statistic that, okay, 50,000 packets I have given you, free of cost, maybe for our marginal cost. What is going to happen with my medicine, whether people have consumed it, whether it is going to bring some impact or not?
Yeah.
Impact,
So, sir,
I'm not asking you to gauge the impact, but whether it has reached to the consumer or not, इतना तो track कर सकते हैं.
बिल्कुल कर सकते हैं. पेशेंट तक, इंडिविजुअल पेशेंट तक ट्रैक कर सकते हैं और कर रहे हैं, मतलब करेंगे प्रोग्राम में.
Right. So I think you have given me a lot of confidence, because I have asked questions from all those perspective where my subscriber, my user, my revenue pay is going to ask me that I'm giving you a device. So say for an example, Dr. Satya is my revenue partner and she's giving me a drugs after getting approval from CDSU that it is safe for human use. I onboarded this drug given to you and then took an approval from, maybe a tailored approval, that for anemia we can give this or not. CDSU or ICM are given, yes, you can give this because there is no invasion. It is just a lotion, right? So what type of information I will go back to Dr. Satya that this is 1 lakh packets or bottles which you have given to me. This is the spectrum of people who have used it, how much they have used, 30 days, 40 days, 45 days, what happened to them because ABID is there and other information is there. I am not going to disclose the individual journey of each patient, but at least the statistics which is coming from the test result link is what I am supposed to be giving her. So how much I can rely on you, it is what I have asked you. And then of course the test partner will give me something, the implementation partner and another, diagnosis partner will be able to give me something.
Yes, sir. So I think, see, like you said, it's not one partner.
Yeah.
Because before the medicine was given, there will be a check on the hemoglobin content. So the moment the hemoglobin, for example, there are bands, something like 6 to 8, 8 to 10, 10 to 12. Different bands will have different understanding and therefore different treatment regimens. If it is given to 1,000 patients in a particular district or in a particular state, you can actually after 3 months come back and tell her that these patients who were between say 6 to 8 or 8 to 10, this is the kind of benefit that we've seen in their hemoglobin increase within this span of time. There is a subsequent test done again after a defined period as per our protocols. So you can actually define that and give it back to.
Ma'am, what do you see? We have reached to the end of this session. At least Preetish ji has given us all 2 parameters.
Basically, our system is very simple. It's 45 days plus 15 days cool-off period. One bottle, 45 days, 15 days cool-off, so 60 days. Within 60 days, you are supposed to look at a 2-unit hemoglobin rise. That's exactly what we are talking about.
So this is the quantified requirement. We can easily come back and tell her that इसमें से कितना जगह पे ऐसा हुआ.
Yeah, so that will actually even add to, for example, you want somebody starts with 7 or 8 as hemoglobin. It goes to 10, but ideally it should reach 12. So then you can look at, it's giving back a second bottle to that person to help him bring it up to 12. That has to come from the prescription. So after the first lot, second lot has to come again from the prescription that gets generated.
Absolutely.
So, but I'm also looking at it from the other perspective, not as you as a partner perspective, because a lot of people who will have device and medicines are going to use DIISHA in coming time. So from your side, if you have gone through a rigorous channel of approvals, if we say that, okay, in the next 6 months, I am going to give you this number of sample, does it help you to get a license? Does it makes an impact? I'm not asking you a question because regulatory bodies will actually have to reply on this, that what is the number of sample on which they consider a license.
They are giving me a license not based on what I'm giving them. They are giving me a license based on my 300 patient clinical trial for which they have given me an NOC. They have agreed for me to make those 300 patients, means 1,000 bottles, and give them to the 300 patients. And that 3-arm, it's a 3-arm study for which the protocol has been approved by them. Once that study comes through clearly, then automatically my license comes through. Because we have finished the SEC, what is called as the subject committee expert meetings are all over now. So the protocol also has got approved from there. So it's only a matter of running the trials and sharing the results with them. So they have allowed for human trials already.
Between the group, I think like she said, all these trials happen separately with very stringent conditions. So you can't look at them on an open field trial at all.
Even with CTRA, which I am doing simultaneously with this, CTRA results can be used for what we call as filing a paper. but they cannot be used for marketing purposes. Not in India. You can use it out of India, but not within India. Whereas the clinical trial, what is called as a complete phase 3 clinical trial, once the results are in the clear, automatically you are permitted to manufacture and market.
Thank you. I think we are out of questions. Next speaker would join, but we would definitely like to thank you with good round of applause because you have answered a lot of questions today.
Thank you.